In this problem, we're asked to use a calculator to find one rational zero, then use synthetic division to find all the zeros of this function here. So I'm using a TI-84 Plus Silver Edition calculator, and I've already turned it on, and now I need to check the mode to make sure I'm in function mode and not any of these modes over here. So that's correct. I'm in the correct mode. So clear that. And now I'm ready to put my function in. So when I hit the Y equals key, it gives me menus from Y1 to Y7. So I'm going to put my function in Y1. And I need 4x cubed. This is the variable key, and since I'm in function mode, when I hit it, it will give me an x. And then I need it raised to the third power. So I'm going to use the caret key that puts me up in the exponent, 3. Now be careful, I'm still up in the exponent, so I have to arrow to the right. And now I can put in plus 5x squared, plus 5. There's my x, and I'm going to use the squared key because it puts in the squared and then brings me down to the right level. Minus 5x plus 2. So there is my function, so I'm going to hit enter. And does it look okay? Yes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit graph. And you can see it crosses the x-axis right here. It kind of looks like it might be at -2, but to help us find that, you go to the table, which is in blue. So you have to hit second graph, which brings up the table. And it looked like it was at -2, so let me scroll up. And as you can see, the function is 0 when x equals -2. So that is how we use the calculator to find one of the zeros. From the calculator, we found one zero is x equals -2. So now we're going to use synthetic division. With synthetic division, you put the 0 in the top box, and then you put the coefficients of your polynomial along here. Before we do that, make sure there are no missing terms. X cubed, x squared, x, and a constant, no missing terms. So my numbers are going to be 4, 5, -5, and 2. So 4, 5, -5, and 2. So remember, with synthetic division, you bring down the 4 as is, and then you multiply 4 times -2, you get -8, and now you're going to add these two numbers. 5 added to -8 is -3. Repeat. -2 times -3 is +6. 6 minus 5 is 1. Last one, 1 times -2 is -2. Add these two together, 2 minus 2 is 0. Did I get a remainder of 0? Yes, so that I've just proved that -2 is a 0. And this is my resulting polynomial. Remember, this term was x cubed, so this is going to be x squared, x, and a constant. So my resulting polynomial is going to be, well, let's see, I can write f of x equals, if I want to write it in factored form, it's x minus a -2, so that's going to be x plus 2 times 4x squared minus 3x plus 1. So now to find the zeros, I already know this one's going to give me x equals -2. Now I need to set 4x squared minus 3x plus 1 equal to 0. What type of equation is it? Quadratic equation. So we're either going to factor it, and if it won't factor, we use the quadratic formula. So we compare this to ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And I'm going to get a equals 4 b equals negative 3, and c equals, whoops, that says equals 1. And so I'm going to multiply a times c. I get 4 times 1 is 4. And if it factors, I need two numbers that multiply to AC, which is 4, and they need to add to B, which is negative 3. If they multiply to a positive, the signs are the same, but if they add to a negative, they both have to be negative. So my only choice is a negative 1 and negative 4, but negative 1 plus a negative 4 equals negative 5. That doesn't work. And my other numbers are negative 2 and negative 2, and those add up to negative 4. So this one is not going to factor. So we're going to have to use the quadratic formula. And remember, the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, that's all under the radical, all divided by 2a. So now I'm just going to use these numbers I've already found. So x equals negative b. B is negative 3, so it's the opposite of negative 3, plus or minus the square root of negative 3 all squared minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c, which is 1, all divided by 2 times a, which was 4. So x equals, the opposite of negative 3 is 3, plus or minus the square root of negative 3 all squared is positive 9, minus 4 times 4 is 16, times 1 is 16, over 8. So x equals 3 plus or minus 9 minus 16, so it's the square root of negative 7, all divided by 8. So that's 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 is just I, the square root of 7. You pull out the square root of negative 1 as I, all divided by 8, and nothing can simplify. So I'm running out of room, so I'm going to write my zeros up here. And my zeros are, don't forget the first one we found, x equals negative 2. And then these two solutions here, and since it's a complex number, we often break it up by dividing 8 into both parts. So I get 3/8 plus or minus I, the square root of 7 over 8. And how many solutions do we have? 1, 2, 3. And what was the degree of the equation? 3.